Why do you hate Jesus? You brought it up a bunch of times. We never talked about it. So I feel like today's your chance. A lot of Christians want to hear from you.
You start. What it do, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about why Preach left Christianity forever. If some of you guys watch Abba and Preach, you know they're very open about their religious beliefs. Abba was a Muslim and he left Islam. He's now atheist. Preach was a Christian, as you guys can tell from the title of this video. He left Christianity. And we're going to find out why he left. Let's get to it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already.
You already know my debacle with church. I'm not a fan of church. I don't go to church anymore. For obvious reason, it's all fake. But more so...
Hold on, they're coming in hot. Preacher's coming in hot. He's already talking about how it's fake. Okay. And I'll say this before we continue. Most of the time when people say that they left Christianity and they tell you why they left, most of the time it's based off of like how other people acted towards them, or how other people like treat them poorly. It's never about them reading the Bible and not liking what they find in it. I mean, which is valid, you know what I mean? Everybody has their reasons, but I just thought I'd point that out.
Okay, well, no, I have to say one thing. Do you just enjoy antagonizing Christians?
Yes. So Baptists from Africa, Baptists from Jamaica, Baptists from Haiti are not going to look, they're going to be like, you sing like that. What's that gibberish you talking about? It's weird. Because you have to remember that black people hate everything about slavery except religion, right? So
Hold on. First of all, he made two claims. He said baptism, basically he's saying Christianity from different parts of the world are different, which is valid, you know what I mean? But that still should not be a valid reason for you living Christianity. I mean, just because other people have different ways of practicing Christianity does not mean that it's a valid reason for you to leave. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what. You can put the same book in front of 10 different people and then you have them read it and tell you what they got from that book. I promise you, I guarantee you, almost always they'll tell you something different. All of them will have slightly different answers. So that's still not a valid reason. And number two, he said black people love everything about slavery except Christianity. I will say this, Christianity was a thing before slavery, and some of the slaves that actually came to America, a small percentage of them were already Christians, and a small percentage of them were also Muslims. Okay, so I feel like most of the time when people say black people loved everything about slavery except Christianity, most of the time they don't back it. I feel like most of the time people just say that just to sound like it. Just to sound fancy. It's like, bro. There's really no claim, no facts behind that. I mean, I do understand a small aspect of it where some of the slaves that came here, some of them had no religion. Some of them were, I don't want to say idol worshippers because we have different tribes in Africa. It's not necessarily worshiping idols. You know what I mean? It's just different practices that they have. You know, so most of the tribes in Africa actually believe that there is a God. I mean, it's not just like a Christian God, but when they brought them here, some of them actually thought there was a God. So it was easy for them to accept Christianity because it was preaching monotheism. You know what I mean? But let's see what else he has to say. And by the way, I don't know if you guys can tell, you can't box me in a religion right now. Right now, even me, myself, I'm trying to find answers that I don't have. You know what I mean? But I'll make a video on that to let you guys know what I currently believe in. But I just like to call out different, loopholes, like different weaknesses that I see in some people's beliefs or reasons why they leave Christianity, because I think it's interesting.
They're really going to look at each other.
Damn.
No.
Yo. No. You know what?
Chat.
I'm
Let me know if that was not a bar.
Tripping. Okay, can we just take 2 seconds? Because you did it last show too. I remember I told you last show, I'm like, if we're not going to unpack it, don't bring it up. But if we're not going to open that can of worms, why'd you pop the lid on it?
Hey, listen.
It's going to spoil. And you brought it up again, which is okay. So let's unpack it.
Who can unpack it? Let's go, bro. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, you can't throw a bomb and run.
Yes, that's how, you can't throw a bomb and stay there.
That's facts though. You can't throw a bomb and stay there. I do get what Alva was trying to say, but Preach had the better comeback. You definitely cannot throw a bomb and stay there. That's funny.
It defeats.
Hey, you know what? You know what?
It
Hey,
defeats the purpose of throwing the ball.
wait.
What am I gonna do?
You right. Yo, you my mic. You my mic so I can shut the fuck up.
Am I gonna throw the bomb and stay there?
Yeah, you're right.
Who throws a grenade like this?
Why do you hate Jesus? You brought it up a bunch of times. We never talked about it, so I feel like today's your chance. A lot of Christians want to hear from you.
You start to ask yourself questions when you grow up in that environment. You start to ask yourself questions, and some things are just not making any more sense. You know what I mean? You try to analyze some things, and it doesn't click. It doesn't make sense to you. Neil Tyson deGrasse said the best. It's not for me. I have to shout him out because he said something that embodies what I think about church and Christianity. He said, do you believe in God, since you're a man of science? And he said, well,
if there is a God, God is either not all powerful or not all good.
And from the information,
to this point, if there is a God, God is not all powerful, all good. I do believe that that's a great point because sometimes even me myself questions a lot of things. You know, it's like, for example, I was reading the Bible and stuff like that. Like just the beginning of the Bible, Genesis, where God told Adam not to eat the apple. And like a powerful God, like I feel like would have the power to like, you know, just make him not eat it. You know what I mean? Instead of giving him a free will. I don't know. It's like that's a little bit more complex. You know, sometimes I do have moments like that where I question stuff like that. I feel like everybody does, where it's like, I mean, if God is powerful, like, why do we have to, like, if bad things about to happen to, like, somebody vulnerable, like a kid, like a child, if God is, like, really that powerful, like, why doesn't he just stop it? You know what I mean? Like, you know, stuff like that. You know, so I do get why people sometimes think this way, why people ask questions like that, you know.
Information that I have from church, these two things do not coexist.
Like believing that he's not these two things?
He's not these two things at the same time. And I have no evidence that he's these two things at the same time. If he's all good, then he's not all powerful. If he's all good, then he wouldn't let happen a lot of things that are happening right now. And if he's all powerful, that means that he has the power to change all the things that are wrong, but he's not good enough to change them. Stuff like that. Stuff that are written in the Old Testament. Stuff that are written in the...
I do think that's a great point. I do think that that's a valid point. And he's about to talk about the Old Testament. It's like a lot of Christians definitely don't like most of the stuff that are in the Old Testament. For example, again, in Genesis, it talks about, you know, slavery and stuff like that, where, I mean, it didn't promote slavery or condemn it. It was just like saying like how slaves should treat their masters and other masters should like treat them. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, it makes people question, you know, what's going on.
Written in the New Testament, and I'm just like, I don't identify with it anymore. And it's cool with other people. That's one of the things. It's cool if other people are with it, but then I have another weird...
I will say this though. I will say this in terms of like the Bible. I feel like Christians have a little bit more leeway than Muslims. Christians definitely do not claim the Bible to be straight from God like how Muslims claim the Quran is. Muslims definitely claim the Quran is God's word for word, nothing changed. Christians, however, it's like there's a bunch of books compiled by different people. You know, it was not God directly himself. Even the New Testament, it was about Jesus. It was not by Jesus. You know what I mean? At least most of it. You know, so Christians definitely have some leeway. And besides, most of the stuff I feel like in the Old Testament, to be fair, it was about a certain times. It's just weird that people try to like incorporate what's in there and apply it today, which is why a lot of people are getting turned off by it. Like you can't apply rules of war back then and like how people were living back then and try to apply that same standards on like how we live. You know, a lot of people are not going to accept it. Like, it's not going to make sense to a lot of people, you know what I mean? Which is why we're seeing a lot of people like condemn the Bible, the Old Testament, you know what I mean? Without knowing that, yeah, that stuff, you know, that stuff, it doesn't apply to today. But again, I see why, because a lot of Christians always try like, oh, let's see if it's in the Bible. Let's see if it's in the Bible. And when you say that too much, people are going to be like, okay, let's see what else the Bible says. You know what I mean? And then when Of course, the Bible doesn't just say good things. There are bad stuff in the Bible too. So, it can create this whole, debacle that we see preach about us talk about here.
Feeling as well when people from the Caribbean are the most religious people, and that religion was imposed to them by their masters. So, and I have an issue with that.
You're talking about how I was introduced to black folks.
Yeah, how I was introduced to Caribbean people, like how I was introduced to certain parts of Africa, not all the parts of Africa. I'm not talking about the Orthodox.
You're not talking about Ethiopians.
No, I'm not talking about them
that old
because I
shit.
believe that they're the original one. Emmanuel Selassie Rastafari. Anyways,
we've been
that's
having
just
Christianity. Don't play with
Exactly.
me.
But what I'm saying is that it feels weird the way it was introduced, because it was introduced as a
Right, Ethiopians being had Christianity. Like one thing I learned, like recently, actually, there are black Jews. I never knew this. I thought all Jews were, white skin complexion. See, I never knew that. Like it was new information to me. That's why I love the era we're living right now, man. There's so much information available. All you have to do is go out there and look for it. I did not know they're legit black Jews. That's interesting.
tool, right? And what the Caribbean are using is the Bible of the King James. The guy that killed his own mother. Fucking weird. More than that is that it was introduced to subdue us and to break us. They removed our roots and they removed our beliefs, and they proposed that just to be able to be more docile. So to
What did
me,
they say about your roots and your beliefs?
what do you mean?
What did they say about them?
Well, it was demonic. It was not good. It was evil. And it's
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft, which is not a reality, of the thing. And
Right, this is what I was saying. A lot of people, when they think about like folks in Africa and stuff like that, they think about like witchcraft and stuff like that, voodoo and stuff like that. It's a small percentage of people that believe in that stuff. I'll tell you that right now. From taking it from somebody from Africa, it's a small percentage of people that actually like believe in that stuff. Even most of the people that believe in that stuff in the villages, you see, they have a lot of Christians, they have a lot of Muslims there that go to church every Sunday, every Friday. You know what I mean? So don't see like every African like don't see it like all Africans that they worship like voodoo and they worship stones and shit. That's all false. You know what I mean? That's so false. I don't know, this narrative like people were pushing in the United States to some of the black people here, telling them that their ancestors used to worship stones, used to worship the devil. That's just not factually true.
And so when I see Caribbean people being very religious, to me, it's just like every night going to sleep and kissing goodnight the picture of your rapist. I know the image is crazy, but that's the feeling that I got. If I've seen someone do that, that's what I
I mean, sure, if that's how he feels, that's how he feels. But what about those Caribbean people that don't have any slavery ancestry, that just moved to the Caribbean? So what about those African people that don't have any slavery ancestry, whereas their ancestors were Christians? You know what I mean? Their ancestors were Muslims. You know what I mean? What about those people? Like, are you just categorizing all of them in the same category?
feel. That's visceral. I'm like, oh my God. Everybody in the world that are religious, they worship someone that look like them. You look like the Hindus, they look like them. The Buddhists, they look like them. The Muslims, they look like them. But people from the Caribbean, it's white. And you can even say, oh no, but it's
This is true though. This is true. Preach is definitely preaching on this one. This is true. That's one thing you'll notice. Most of the time, almost always, like most religions, they have the main guy in that religion look like them. White people have Jesus Christ is white. They give him white features and stuff like that. Islam, has their prophet as Arab. You know what I mean? Hinduism, their gods, they're all Indians. I feel like this is why we see movement about where it's like black Israelites and stuff like that, where they're claiming Jesus was black and stuff like that. I feel like people just want to feel like they're the chosen ones, like they're like God was like one of them. You know what I mean? I do understand what Prince is saying. That's very interesting, to be honest. That's something you definitely notice. I feel like everybody notices that.
Is my God is black, my Jesus isn't black, but your Bible is from was from the people that own you, and that's
Yeah.
weird.
I'll say in Ethiopia we got a black Jesus. I know because every time I go into a church, it's all black.
But all these people are not.
Oh, he looked like he got a forehead.
Yes, and I've seen that Jesus, and
I do personally like that. I think like the that's a personal thing. But
yes, but that's not the because there's an Ethiopian Bible as well. Because the Bible that we have in the Caribbean that we're using, the King James Bible, I believe has 66 books, and the Ethiopian one has 88. So it was modeled and compressed, and it's not the real thing. So I'm
Manipulation.
This is true. You can say that's a good thing. I feel like it makes people like it gives people like this special connection to the book. I guess like if every tribe, every specific groups of people have their book model towards them, you know what I mean? I feel like it makes them more, it connects them more to the book. You know what I mean? Which is why we see all this happen where the Ethiopians, they have their own Bible. You know what I mean? People from different parts of the world, they have their own Bible. You know, if you really, really, really think about it, that is how it's supposed to be though, because most of the time, like I said, when you read the Bible, when different groups of people read the Bible, they interpret it differently. You know what I mean? Which is why you see different sects of Christianity, because every group wants to be like, oh, like this is what we believe in, and take and toss the parts out that they don't believe in. I think that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. If you can all come together and agree, like, okay, we like the Bible, but we don't like everything in it. We're just going to take the stuff that we like in it and then follow that. Because at the end of the day, I do think, even though a lot of people might tell you otherwise, but I do think religion is good. Anything that make people do good is good. Point blank, period.
Manipulation.
That's right.
Let me just get out of that, because that's not me. So that's the reason why I'm just like, man. Okay. I'm uncomfortable whenever I see that. There's some part of churches I appreciate because I feel like the praise, no, that's her sauce, that's her spice. We did that. We did that. And that's I appreciate. But other than that, everything that is said in there, the scriptures, the vibe, the hypocrisy, I can't deal with that. So I got out of there. And that is why. So no hate to you, but I'm gonna remind you every time, and I'm gonna be petty about it. Deal with that. So I got out of there. And that's I appreciate. But other than that, everything that is said in there, the scriptures, the vibe, the hypocrisy, I can't deal with that.
Okay, so he actually just touched on the point that I was waiting for him to touch on. He said the scripture, he doesn't agree with that. And I mean, I can get behind that. If somebody says, okay, like they read the Bible and they can't get behind it, you know, that's why they're leaving. Sure, like, I feel like that's the number one reason why you should leave any religion. You know what I mean? Instead of like, oh, like, I don't like the vibe, da. Like, for example, you can't say you left Islam because of what other people are doing. I mean, even though it might be messed up, but I truly believe for you to leave a religion, you have to read the book and actually be like, okay, I don't like those things that is in here. And now it makes sense why people are taking it this way. For example, like you see some Islamist extremism, extremist. Sometimes you're like, why are they acting like this? You know what I mean? And then you read the Quran and then you're like, oh, okay, I see where they're getting some of this stuff from. Even though you might interpret it a different way, but you might be like, it makes sense why they might take it that way. I mean, because you're telling them it's straight from God. You know what I mean?
So I got out of there, and that is why. So no hate to you, but I'm going to remind you every time, and I'm gonna be petty about it. And I love when people say you're wrong, and then they just say you're wrong.
Hey,
like,
listen,
explain
you know
yourself.
what? I'm sure some people won't be covering this portion. You know what I mean? Some of the Christian YouTubers, they're gonna have something to say about your little segment there. That's cool. People have DM'd me.
Christianity was in Africa before, yeah, but the one that they gave us to us was whitewashed. Okay,
the one that they gave. This is funny. He said the one that they gave him is whitewashed. I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, Christianity was always the white man's religion, so I don't know what he means by whitewashed. That's funny.
you could say that all you want, but yeah.
All right.
And I love it. People will be like, yeah, you're ignorant about it. If you say something like that I'm wrong or ignorant about it, at least explain yourself. Just saying that someone is ignorant when they got a point is very cowardly and very lazy. Explain yourself. Bring points. Bring something. Bunch of Walters.
That's true though. That's true. Like I do appreciate people, especially in my videos. I do appreciate people actually like dissect, because a lot of videos I posted, I get a lot of interesting comments where people are actually like leaving a paragraph or two, just explaining or telling me why I'm wrong. I actually appreciate that. You know what I mean? If you're gonna tell somebody they're wrong, tell them why they're wrong. We're all trying to better ourselves. You know, you can't just say, "Oh, you're wrong, you're ignorant," and not back it up. You have to be able to back up your points. Period. All right, we're gonna end it here. So now you know why Preach left Christianity. You know, but I will say this: if you're gonna leave a religion, make sure you read the book. And if you're gonna join a religion, make sure you read the books and know what's in it. You know, and then you decide if you want to join it or you want to live it. You know, I do think it's interesting that we're having conversations like this. I like when YouTubers are open about their stands on religion and politics, because I feel like a lot of people run away from topics like that because people are passionate about topics like that. Somebody might just hate you because of what you believe or, you know, who you vote for, you know. So that's what a lot of YouTubers strand away from that, from those topics, because at the end of the day, it's their source of income, like it or not. This is how they feed their families, you know. So if you're scrutinizing them for telling you what they believe or who they vote for, guess what? They're not going to speak on it anymore. I mean, I feel like it's better for people to tell us who they are so we can, you know, address it, talk about it. But I'm just going to end it here, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, peace.